Hi everyone, this is Nicholas Rivera. I'm your professor for English 1001. This video is an introduction video on the text in action and its assignment, what it is, what we're going to do about it. What you're seeing in front of you is a game called Elegy for a Dead World, where the purpose of the game is to explore 3 worlds, and then you simply write what it is that you're seeing. You have free-form writing, guided writing, writing sonnets, writing poems, writing entire plays, whatever you want to write. I'm using this as a vehicle to explain this text in action because not only can we do a little mini example of what a text in action assignment is, but it's also an interesting way to explore it. So getting into the text in action, the text in action basically is how a text, written, audio, or visual influences an audience and persuades them to the author's point of view. That's the essential part, that they persuade them to the author's point of view. And that they accomplish this through a combination of 3 methods: logos, ethos, and pathos. Now it's very clear to keep in mind that these methods, logos, ethos, and pathos, that they are not separate from one another. You authors will have a tendency to either use all 3, sometimes they'll use 2 out of the 3, but you can notice that they will emphasize one over the other. If you can recall the Digital Manifesto, there's a lot of fiery language, so it has a tendency to lead towards pathos. So this is an explanation of the logos argument. It is the logical argument, called so because the author will lead the audience through a series of ideas that lead from A to B and C, so on. So the point of the logical argument is you want coherence. You're not really talking about cold hard statistics, using distant language. While those may be signs of that, the emphasis is on coherence and structure. You want your ideas to smoothly flow from one to the next. So the more coherence you have in your paper as a whole, the better your logos argument is, because the audience, from their perspective, is seeing this person's essay, article is very concise. There's not a lot of mistakes. I'm seeing one argument is leading to the next. I don't have to put in any information on my own part to understand what they're saying. It's all been laid out for me. And that type of effect usually has the audience saying, I like this idea, maybe I can spend a little bit more time on it. So this is the pathos argument, and this is the passionate appeal. You're really going to see this a lot in terms of examples. Speeches from politicians, they're always trying to make a human connection, is what I like to call it, to implore you to think about what it means to be human, to what it means to have respect, to have dignity towards people you don't like, respectful, whatever. And so this is done by reaching out to the audience's emotions. You really want to establish that human connection, saying, I know what you're going through, I've been through there too, or don't you feel angry about this? We should all feel angry about this. A good example of this, aside from the Digital Manifesto, is for any of those who have seen those PETA commercials, or Save the Needy Children. In those videos, they're always showing the faces of children with really, really big, sad eyes, and they're trying to make you feel sad and equal parts guilty that you're not helping enough. While that may not be their full reason of why they're showing those images, it is part of it. And in trying to make you feel something, they are trying to persuade you to their idea, if you donate something, you will be able to help someone in a different country. So for a pathos appeal, you see this, you see it in Digital Manifesto, you see a subtler version of it in Nicholas's Cars, Is Google Making Us Stupid? In that article, he does a lot of establishing I's and U's, using this very subjective tone to establish a connection with you, the audience member. So then you can think about his argument and say, okay, I see where he's going here. The last one is the one that's most tricky for everybody, every writer, every student, because it just involves everything. So ethos appeal is the ethics appeal, and keep in mind, this works not for you, the audience member. So the writer isn't trying to say, hey, you should be a better human, you should know, that killing people is wrong. No, that's not what ethics is. The ethos appeal is specific to the writer and talking about their credibility. So kind of think of it like their work ethics. You really wouldn't trust an article from a person who is not knowledgeable about the subject, is citing wrong sources, or they're just talking about something but never really saying where their evidence is coming from. I like to call that when authors reach into their BS bag when they're just having trouble to talk about something, so they just start spitting out their ideas, but they haven't spent time discussing them. So the way that the ethos appeal is established is when authors make themselves credible, when they have you, the audience member, think that, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. And if you, the audience, makes that connection, that you believe the author knows what they're talking about, you're far more likely to be persuaded about their ideas because they sound believable. They sound credible. So this is what text in action does. Text in action is we look at a text and we analyze it from these three angles: ethos, pathos, and logos. And the way we're always analyzing it is, what is the effect on the audience, right? So if we return to Nicholas Carr's Is Google Making Us Stupid, what we're thinking about here is how that article is using a logical appeal in terms of its structure to make us think, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. There's no mistakes in their logic. The pathos appeal, hey, I like this tone of how he's using you and I, making me feel like we're just having a conversation at a coffee shop. And then the ethos appeal is that he is a credible writer at a university. He's published multiple times, and this article has been featured in so many magazines, been featured in so many textbooks, so many anthologies. It must be important. Those three appeals, they kind of work on the audience member saying, okay, maybe I should sit down and really think over what this person is saying. So the text in action works in that manner, and obviously we do it more in depth. And what we're going to be doing over the next couple of days and partly into next week is using text in action to break down different subject choices. You can either break down a game, which we're going to do an example of here, break down commercials, break down television shows, break down music, break down whatever it is you want, to talk about how that text works on the audience to persuade them to a certain idea. So this game, Elegy for a Dead World, you explore 3 dead planets that are based on the works of 3 famous authors, Lord Byron, Percy Shelley, and John Keats, who all 3 of them come from a similar writing period. And this game doesn't necessarily lend itself to a text in action in that there's nothing from the designers themselves. Like the designers have not put in any text. They are not trying to influence your ideas through written word. And so it's a little bit trickier. And for those who want to do commercials or want to do movies, who want to rely on visual images, this is kind of a neat way to talk about how these visual images influence you. So the purpose of this game is to write a story and then have it published and then have people review it and commentate, to recommend it. So the way it happens is that you'll be at this backdrop here and press tab to pull up a writing screen, and then you simply write. And what you write is going to be influenced by the background, by what you're seeing. So you haven't necessarily seen it here, but there are a lot of stones that are marked with this T all around throughout this planet, and as you go further along you keep seeing it. So the more and more you see it, you as the player may say, oh, that's kind of interesting. There's something to be seen here in that there's this stone or a monument with a T. What does this T represent? Is it a symbol for their world? Maybe, depending on what type of knowledge, cultural, social you have, or what your interests are, you may say, you know what, this T is kind of like an emblem of a superhero. Maybe this is their version of Superman. However it is you want to write the story. But through the images, the designers, they're using images to influence you and your ability to write what it is you want to create. Even you can resist that, of course, but still what you see on the background is going to influence what it is you want to write, because you want to write something that will grab people's attention. Right, so, okay, here's an interesting part. So you really can't hear it, but there is some audio throughout the game, and it's got this creepy, death-like resonance to it, is how the best way I can describe it. Don't take my word for it. But it's haunting. And now, as I'm going through and getting close to this, the sound gets louder. And I'm re-recording this part because the audio from the device was too loud that it was just unplayable. As I was going through this area, I was stopped and arrested by the visuals and the movement here, and the loud whirring sound of this made me rethink what those T monuments and T statues represented, so I thought they meant teleporter. So now I'm going to rewrite saying this is a device used to teleport subjects across the landscape. What I enjoy about this game is that the designers have influenced the players on what to write, but they do it in very subtle ways because they still allow the imagination of the player to decide the content. I necessarily didn't have to pick teleporter and write this, but it came to me the most natural, and that changes based on music cues and what personal and cultural knowledge the person has. Keep that in mind when you're reviewing a text in action, culture and knowledge. But still keep in mind that the game is influencing you. The game's text in action, if you will, is using these images, using audio to influence you about what to write. So you're going to write something regardless, but what you want to write, what you will write, will subtly or not so subtly be influenced by the images. I know I'm repeating myself a lot here, but it's important to keep in mind that the text in action, when you're working on this assignment, when you're looking at videos, that they're constantly hitting you with subtle messages and very explicit messages on a way to think, on a way to approach this idea. If you've seen any ads for fast food, you know that the food you see in the ad in no way, shape, or form will match the food that you receive in the restaurant. From McDonald's to fancy places like Carrabba's to upscale restaurants like Cirque in France. You're not going to find that the ad of the item will measure up to what is actually given, because there's always going to be slight variations. But you see the ad, you see that food looks so good, I really want to order it. You're going to, for some people, it will affect their decision to buy that item, to actually go to the store, maybe late at night. For those who've seen the Taco Bell Crave Box at night, Jack in the Box has similar thing. Wendy's open till 12 a.m. They're trying to influence people to come into the restaurants and buy. Yeah, so that's how the text is in action. So this is the video for it. I hope you enjoyed it. I would really appreciate your comments and feedback on if the video using the game was helpful in any way. If not, I will alter the way I deliver content to you in the future. But for now, there's this video explaining the text in action. I will also be emailing a rubric as well as some sample speeches, as well as some sample videos on how to do a text in action. So again, I hope you enjoyed. If you have any comments, feel free to email me at riveraea@mail.uc.edu. I have updated the syllabus with my contact information, and that is posted on the syllabus and schedule link on the left-hand side when you go into Blackboard. So if there's anything you've missed, if you need my contact info, again, just look at the syllabus that's on Blackboard, and it has all the updated contact information. Hope you've enjoyed.